Hi everyone, welcome back to the course. In this video we're going to talk about something that's kind of not very often spoken on in terms of the MCAT, and that is maintaining your mental health while studying for the MCAT. Now, a lot of pre-medical students and students overall struggle with mental health, and adding on this huge challenge of facing a huge exam like the MCAT can kind of compound things a little bit. Something I've noticed with students who study for the MCAT is they kind of go through phases where there's some times of studying where they feel really confident and feeling good about the test, and there are other times when they're feeling less confident and a little bit more anxious. So if that's something that you experience, that's totally normal. Now, one thing I have found to be really helpful to maintain your mental health while studying for the MCAT is to establish a routine. And that's because the less decision making that you have to make on a daily basis, the less anxious that you get. So for example, when you wake up in the morning and you know exactly what you're going to do first, that's a little bit less stressful than if you wake up in the morning just thinking about all you have to get accomplished today and thinking about what you might want to do first and next. So if you develop a routine, that eliminates some of that decision making. The first thing you should consider is healthy eating and how to establish a healthy eating routine. Putting good food in your body will keep you feeling good overall and is really good to improve your mental health overall. So eat as many fruits and vegetables as possible, take your vitamins, and get those nutrients to make sure that your body and your brain are feeling good. I call smoothies cheat codes because they taste amazing, and it's a really efficient way to get a lot of good fruits and vegetables and nutrients into your body. So when I was studying for the MCAT, one of the first things I did every morning was make myself a green smoothie and maintain that healthy eating throughout the day. I know this is sometimes difficult to do. Go grocery shopping every week and make sure you have the right food in the house and make sure you're making good decisions on what you're putting into your body. That will really help to reduce your stress. Sleep is also extremely important for mental health. And you and I both know that throughout the months that you're studying for the MCAT, there's no way that you'll be able to get 8 hours each day. But you should try the best that you possibly can. So one thing that I did is I set 2 alarms on my phone. The first was to tell me that it's time to get ready for bed, and the second was to wake me up at the same time each morning. A good tip I have is to wake up each morning at the same time that you plan on waking up to take the MCAT on the day of the actual MCAT. And so by the time that you reach the day of the MCAT, you've woken up at that time so many times that it just feels like second nature to you. Sleep is incredibly important for mental health, as is evidenced in so many different research studies. So absolutely place value on sleep. If you are studying and you are up late at like 2 a.m., your studying isn't going to be that effective anyway because of how tired you are. And if you just pack it up and go to bed, and instead of spending those wee hours of the morning doing bad studying, using that for sleep, and then waking up earlier the next day and knocking out good studying in the morning, that's going to be a much more effective use of your time. So sleep, sleep, sleep as much as you can while still staying on track with your study hours goals. The next thing you want to consider is exercise. Now, like I mentioned in an earlier lecture, exercise is one of the most potent anti-anxiety and anti-depressant treatments that science has ever discovered. So even if you're not very big into running or biking or strong cardio or lifting or exercising heavily, that's totally okay. At least try to get out every morning on a quick walk, get your heart rate up a little bit, get outside. 30 minutes even is perfect. That'll have you feeling good in the morning before you even get started on any of your MCAT tasks. And if you supplement that daily morning exercise with a green smoothie and perhaps a little bit of protein in the morning, you'll have a great start to your morning. Another thing I've mentioned previously in this course is meditation. And meditation is very helpful as an anti-anxiety practice, an antidepressant practice as well, and it kind of just helps keep you balanced and helps tune out some of the stress in your head. Even if you've never tried meditation before, I recommend looking into it a little bit. There's some really nice 10-minute, 20 20-minute guided meditations on YouTube. So when I was studying for the MCAT, and even before the MCAT, on the day of the MCAT, I used to do a 10 to 20 minute guided meditation from YouTube each morning, and that kind of keeps you balanced and reduces some of your stress. I can provide some links in the notes section of this video on some meditation videos to look into. Now, another component of your daily routine is going to be your daily routine in terms of your actual studying. There are a couple of things in relation to the MCAT that you should be trying to do every single day. So the first MCAT related task I did each day after my healthy breakfast and my exercise was doing my flashcards. Now, I mentioned previously in this course a program called Anki. It's free, you can download it online. I'll also mention it in my top MCAT resources video. Anki is a program that you download onto your computer. You input decks of flashcards. It uses an algorithm to determine which flashcards to present to you after you input if it was easy, medium, or hard. So the harder flashcards it presents to you more often, and the ones that you seem to have down really well, it'll present to you less often. So the first thing I did in relation to the MCAT each morning was knock out all of my flashcard decks, because those flashcard decks are what I kind of put together as things I wanted to maintain my knowledge on throughout my MCAT studying. So for each MCAT section, I'm going to give you guys a rundown on what types of decks you should be making for those sections. I'll talk about that in the section strategy part of this course. So if you start off your day knocking out all those flashcards, you feel really good about your knowledge on the MCAT overall, and it's kind of an easy start to your MCAT studying each day. Another thing you should be trying to practice each day is CARS, and that's because CARS is the section that is pretty much most reliant on you doing a lot of practice and just getting used to the structure of those passages. So there's a website called Jack Weston. I believe it's at jackweston.com. They post a free MCAT CARS passage every single day. So knock out your flashcard decks and then head over to Jack Weston and do the daily CARS passage. And that's a really great start to your MCAT studying for the day. So you've had your healthy breakfast, you've gotten outside, gotten a little vitamin D, and hopefully gotten your heart rate up a little bit. You've come home, knocked out your flashcard decks, maybe done a daily CARS passage. After that, you're gonna go straight into your studying for the day, whatever that entails, whatever you need to study for that day. But there are other components of maintaining your mental health as well, and the most important one is to take some time off. So make sure you're only studying a maximum of 6 days a week. You need to take at least one day off a week to kind of maintain that mental health and keep your sanity. And on that day off, as well as the time that you're not studying on your study days, you should be doing things that you enjoy. Find a hobby if you don't have one already. Something to take your mind off the MCAT. Go outside, watch Netflix, maybe start an artistic hobby. I like to make music on the side, which is something that helps me take my mind off of studying. I have friends who like painting, drawing, crafts. Any type of non-academic activity is really good for your mental health and keeps your mind off of the stress associated with the MCAT. Also, find time to talk with friends and family. Pre-medical students, when they're studying for a big exam like this, kind of tend to shut themselves out and maybe not have as many social interactions as usual, but those social interactions are really important for our mental health. Humans are a social species, and they need to have that social interaction to stay happy and relaxed. So I lived with 2 other pre-health students, and something we did at the end of each day is kind of came together at night and just talked about the stress associated with studying for these exams. And it was kind of therapeutic. So it's nice to have those people as resources and to just kind of blow off some steam and talk about the difficulties of these exams. Make sure that you're calling your mom, calling your dad, calling people that you haven't seen in a while and talking to them as well. And they can also serve as mentors for you and kind of help you work through these times of high stress, because it's almost certain that they've had times of high stress like this as well. Another tip I have is to stay off of those pre-med MCAT forums online like Reddit and SDN, Student Doctor Network. There's a lot of people on those forums who are posting things like, hey, I got a 525 and I have a 3.9 .96 GPA. What are my chances of getting into medical school? And this can make you feel inferior. It can make you have, like I talked about earlier in the course, imposter syndrome. And that's not healthy. It makes you anxious, it makes you stressful, it makes you feel like you're not good enough. And the bad thing about these forums is only extreme outliers usually post, which means that it makes you think that these extreme outliers are the norm, and they are absolutely not. So while those forums can provide a lot of helpful resources, and I will talk about those helpful resources in the top MCAT resources section, most of the time, browsing these forums when you're bored will just lead to more stress and anxiety. Also, make sure you go out, leave the house. Now, I know the pandemic's going on right now, but if you are watching this not during the pandemic, go out and have a beer with your friends. You need to get out a little bit. It's okay when you are studying for the MCAT to take a day off and go out. If you're not big into going out to the bars, just go out, go shopping, get outside, get a little bit of fresh air on your face, and that'll have you feeling good as well. The last thing I wanted to mention is just believe in yourself. And I know this is hard to do with such an intimidating exam coming up, but like I've said earlier in this course, you've done so much to get to the point where you are, and you deserve all the success that may come your way. And if you believe in yourself and you're confident, a lot of that stress and anxiety is gonna melt away. So I absolutely believe in you, and you should believe in yourself as well. So to kind of summarize this video, develop a routine, eat healthy, make sure you're exercising. If you can't daily, at least a few times a week, get that sunshine on your face. Maybe try a little bit of meditation. It's really good for keeping you centered. Make sure you're spending time with friends and family, calling up people to talk, letting out some of that anxiety and some of those feelings you have about the exam. Maybe find some other people who have taken the MCAT or who are currently studying for the MCAT, who you can talk to about these challenges. Stay off Reddit and SDN as much as you can. Make sure you're going out, go have a beer with your buddies. Do things you enjoy, find a hobby, spend time on that hobby. Do things not related to the MCAT. Anything you can do to take your mind off of it is great. And last but not least, believe in yourself. You can do this. I've talked about these mental health strategies in medical school interviews. A lot of medical schools in their interviews like to ask you about a challenge you've overcome, maybe a time when your mental health wasn't at its peak and how you kind of dealt with that situation, how you deal with stress, how you deal with anxiety. They like to hear about this stuff. And so the strategies that I've used to kind of combat that stress and anxiety while studying for the MCAT, I've certainly discussed in medical school interviews. And it's really important for medical school to develop these strategies because the stress that you have as an undergrad is probably only going to be greater in medical school. Now again, not all these strategies will work for everyone. Find what works best for you, and I truly believe that you are going to do great on this exam. If you want any other mental health tips, I love talking to people on this topic, so feel free to contact me at the email on the website. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to manage work-life balance while studying for the MCAT. I'll see you in the next video.